Hello there, Dragonfire here. Time for another bulletproof review. This time I am reviewing Manhunter. Yes, sorry, Red Dragon. Hey, they're almost the same movies. Just to cut me some slack here. Yeah, so Red Dragon functions as both a prequel to Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs, as well as a um, remake of Manhunter. So we got Will Graham here, played by Edward Norton. Of course, in the previous incarnation of Manhunter, he was played by William Peterson. And we have Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, instead of Brian Cox, who played him in the original. So this completes the Anthony Hopkins trilogy within this franchise of um, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, which is the sequel to Silence of the Lambs, and then Red Dragon, which is a prequel to Silence of the Lambs. Um, so, uh, yeah, this one is tells the same basic story as Manhunter. We've got Hannibal in prison. We've got them going after the Tooth Fairy killer, who fancies himself the Red Dragon, who is Francis Dollarhide. Um, this time, Francis Dollarhide is played by Ray Fiennes. Um, he's definitely, I would say, a more conventionally attractive. Not that I'm into dudes, but I think he's a more conventionally attractive guy where I would have a harder time believing that he repels women the way that um, the character's supposed to, and he ends up going with a blind girl because um, uh, you know it seems like that's the only girl he can get. That is sort of much more believable in the Manhunter version than it is in this version. I think the whole romance, um, as far as like, or the believability of the Francis Dollarhide character dating this blind girl because he can't date anyone else, I think is um, more believable. And not to say that there's anything wrong with dating a blind person. I'm trying to imply that at all. What I'm saying is that the character does that because he's so socially awkward, and also he was born with the facial disfigurement of a cleft palate. Um, and he's always felt self-conscious about that. Now, Ray Fiennes does a good job with the psychological aspect of the character. Maybe that's because it's all in his mind psychologically. That's the reason why he doesn't connect with women, which kind of drives him to the behavior that he has, where he murders and is with his victims post mortem. Um, these female victims, um, because of the trauma, being raised by his grandmother, who was really strict and abusive towards him. I think Ray Fiennes does a good job with the psychological aspect of that character. In Manhunter, the other actor, I don't know the name of the other actor who plays Francis Dollarhide in Manhunter, I feel like they leave it more to mystery. They don't really explain his backstory. So it's a mystery why he's doing what he's doing, other than that you can tell he seems like a man who wouldn't necessarily be the type of man that most women would find attractive, other than being tall. He's pretty tall, and somewhat physically fit, as is Ray Fiennes in this version of Francis Dollarhide. Um, but yeah, I think Ray Fiennes is a much more conventionally attractive, and so in that aspect of the character, it's just different approaches because I think in Ray Fiennes, in his version of Francis Dollarhide, he can't get with women because of his psychological conditioning, um, and in the problems he has psychologically, and so he ends up being attracted to a woman who can't actually see his physical features because he thinks um, that women find his physical features frightening and scary. But in Ray Fiennes' case, I don't think that that's true. I think women are attracted to him. I think he just doesn't know how to handle it from a psychological standpoint. In the other version, and I know I keep comparing it to the original Manhunter, but in Manhunter, I feel like that character is more believable as the type of character who women wouldn't necessarily wouldn't necessarily be attracted to his character. He's tall, but that's about all he's got going for him. So, um, so two different approaches to the character as far as how the character is represented visually on screen, and I think what type of impression the audience might get. I definitely think that the guy who plays him in Manhunter comes across a lot more creepy and weird and out there. Whereas I would say that this version from Red Dragon, the Francis Dollarhide character, is seemingly a lot more normal. He's definitely mentally disturbed, but you get the feeling that he could hide it a lot better. And the little bit in the movie that we do get to see him interact with people, he's a lot better at hiding it. He has a lot more charisma, I think, than the other version of the character. I've spent a long time, I guess, comparing um, the Francis Dollarhide, the two versions of Francis Dollarhide from the two different films. But anyway, yeah, you know, they doing a prequel. They bring back characters like Dr. Sheldon, um, uh, Barney is back at his old position of being the prison guard or the attendant in the insane asylum. Um, and um, in this one, Jack Crawford is played by Harvey Keitel. I don't remember, did he play Jack Crawford in Silence of the Lambs? I don't think he did. I think that's a replacement. For whatever reason, they didn't get the original actor who played him in Silence of the Lambs, even though this is supposed to be a prequel. They did get back, is it, I don't remember the name of the actor, but they got back the actor who played Dr. Sheldon. I think they changed the name of the love interest in this one. Francis Dollarhide's love interest. I think it was Ruth in Manhunter. In this one, they changed it to Reba. But yeah, I like Anthony Hopkins' version of Hannibal better. But part of that may be because he's had 3 movies to play him and they give him a lot more screen time. um, in the movies that he's in than Brian Cox gets in Manhunter. Um, yeah, but to see Anthony Hopkins come back and play Hannibal Lecter one more time is kind of cool. Obviously, they're selling this movie on the idea of seeing Anthony Hopkins play the character one more time. Um, um, yeah, um, and I do think I like this version of the character better, but I don't think that Brian Cox is bad in the role. He's actually really good. So, um, everyone does a good job in this movie. Um, there are aspects of this movie that I like better than Manhunter. Like Anthony Hopkins, I think, is a better Hannibal, but I also think Brian Cox is good. And there are aspects of the other one that I like better. Um, the Will Graham character, I think is better in Manhunter than he is in Red Dragon. I think both actors, William Peterson and Edward Norton, have interesting take on the character, but I do like William Peterson's version better from the aspect that Edward Norton plays it like he's disturbed by what happened in the past and what's happening now, and he has a sincere desire to catch the bad guy and um, you know to stop these crimes that are happening, whereas um, I feel like William Peterson's character is much closer to the edge, ready to snap at any time. Um, yeah. Um, I think William Peterson's character is more what the novel was going towards, at least to my best understanding, having not read the novel, but um, still a good version. But as for which one overall I like better between Manhunter and Red Dragon, I'm gonna say, if you want to know, you're gonna have to wait because I have a ranking video coming up on the series. So when we get to the ranking video, we will talk about that some more. I think that's all I have to say for this video. And continue watching my series on Hannibal. Alright, God bless everybody. Dragonfire out.